Another week of preseason in the books. Loads more information, loads more takeaways, loads more hype, more importantly than anything else. We're going to get into it with Kyle Dvorchak of Rotoworld and Legendary Upside tonight before jumping into a BBM draft. This is Fantasy Sanctuary, home of best ball in Europe, but tonight, two of America's finest joining me. Let's get into it. That is right. We're back again. Tyler joining me as always, but more importantly, Kyle, one of our first guests when we started Fantasy Sanctuary 18 months ago. I know this is like crazy busy time of year for you because you've got 1,001 blurbs to write. Are you managing to keep your head above water?
Yeah. I mean, I'll say the very first, my first news shift of the week is Wednesdays. The very first news shift on a Wednesday of training camp, I was like, oh, this is the good stuff. The actual information is flowing in. And then like 2 Wednesdays later, I was like, all right, time for the season. Let's get this going.
Tyler, I mean, you're definitely one of the bigger news hounds I know, and one of the reasons why we love having you joining us on the Fantasy Sanctuary. What was the biggest nugget you felt you came away from this weekend?
Besides Daniel Jones still sucks.
He's so bad, man. Jesus.
Probably that CEH is going to be wandering the wilderness for a while, and the RB2 is just going to be Carson Steele or whatever free agent running back they go grab, week 3 when the Steele experience doesn't really work out. I feel like there wasn't too much meaningful outside of maybe I think probably the biggest news item was if you were doubting that Sean Payton finally became logical and reasonable, you were wrong. He's still going to be stubborn and play by his own rules, and Marvin Mims and Troy Flanken are going to be his little decor puppets on his shelf of trinkets not to be used.
It really is baffling, particularly when you go back to Marvin Mims being the first player that he drafted in the Broncos. Is there any hope for Marvin Mims?
Probably not. I mean, someone who was like
so
a month ago was like, I don't know, Tim Patrick coming off back-to-back season-ending injuries, and then we saw Marvin Mims. Like you said, he was drafted by the guys, so he's got that that Nepo clout going on. Pencilman, and they traded Jerry Jeudy. It was either right before or after they traded Jerry Jeudy. He's like, well, we couldn't play Mims because he was in the Jeudy role. Wink, wink. Jerry Judy's gone. That was a lie, and so now he's not playing. He gets 1 snap with the ones in both preseason games. Nah, it's probably over. Probably over for the fella. I will give Sean Payton credit. I like what they did with the running backs. No Samaje Perine in the backfield this week. That was pretty fun.
Oh.
Was there anything that we're picking up a 102 and we're straight on the clock? Kyle, CeeDee Lamb, Tyreek Hill, or Jamar Chase? Where are you going with this pick?
I'll go. Let's mix it up. Go Tyreek Hill. I don't really care if we take CeeDee Lamb or Tyreek Hill.
Love it.
I think Tyreek Hill's a little bit of a better bet. We saw last year he was on pace for literally 2,100 yards. And then the Tua thing happens where it gets a little cold and McDaniel gets figured out a little bit, the offense that Mike McDaniel does. But I do think that he is one of the best offensive minds. If anyone's going to come up with a counterpunch that lets the offense sustain for 17 weeks instead of 10, it's probably going to be him. Maybe he won't. Maybe it's just he's a guy whose offense has certain limitations, partially because of the quarterback, and they'll never get that full season where 18 weeks of tape have happened and they're still just absolutely going bonkers. But if they do, which feels possible, if they do, Tyreek Hill can actually rival CMC in terms of fantasy output. And he's the only one who could do that, I think. And that's not a discredit CeeDee. CeeDee is the second best fantasy option in the NFL, or at least among receivers.
Unless we forget that he ended the season injured. He played through an ankle sprain for the last 4 weeks of the season.
He was playing in that game with the ankle sprain, and you were like, there is no way this guy should be out there. And exactly. I mean, to his credit, man, he gritted through it in that game. And
then it was a shoulder thing. He was truly playing through some shit.
Yeah. I mean, and he was, it's literally, if he didn't finish as the wide receiver 36, 16, and 28 back-to-back right when it mattered the most, I think we'd be having legitimate is either 101 arguments. So I probably haven't taken enough Tyreek Hill just because I've taken quite a strong position on CD Lamb and the Cowboys in general. But yeah, I think try to bet against Tyreek Hill probably isn't going to go too well. I've just kind of ended up leaning towards Jalen Waddle and being more overexposed to him than Tyreek Hill. But otherwise, I mean, this is a wide receiver heavy draft to start things off. I thought the running backs were supposed to be pushed up, but we're at the 113 and seeing Cooper Kupp double stacked with Puka Nacua still into the second round, and Jahmyr Gibbs hasn't gone. Where are you at on Jahmyr Gibbs with his hamstring injury, Kyle?
Doesn't seem like a big deal. I didn't think he was a great pick at the turn. Like, quite literally a committee back who got like 2-to-1 in terms of goal line work last year. But I do believe he's really talented. I like, my heart of hearts, I'm like, I look at the numbers, I watch him play, I see what he did in college. I do genuinely think he's really talented. It's just the problem of at some point you do have to get the workload, and you cannot project him to get the workload. But at this point, I mean, what if you we're not even close to being on the clock, but at this point, person taking him at 2-1, 2-2, 2-3, 204, that's feeling a lot more palatable than when you had to take him at 111, 112, like inside of the first round. So at this point, I don't think the injury is a big deal at all. And maybe we're getting 4 or 5 picks discount. Maybe that's the point at which it's time to actually start getting some, when I really thought he was just, look, second round felt pretty ugly anyways. I get why he was going there, but a lot of other years I'm like, oh, committee back at the 1-2 turn, not for me. We'll take that 12 picks later in HN and we'll be happy about
it. Tyler, where are you at on Jahmyr Gibbs? You've been mixing him in more now that he's dipped, or are you just kind of staying as you were taking him?
It's like a weird pick, right? Because it's like he kind of feels a little bit like Alvin Kamara, except his backfield mate's not going away. They love his backfield mate, who is actually really good success rate wise, and he is more versatile than we give him credit for, a la pass blocking and pass catching. The hamstring's it's the second soft tissue thing he's had this fall, but it's like he could easily become like the third target on this offense because JMO is kind of a psyop, and Laporta is a guy, but I'll delve deeper. Who would you like here, Kyle? We got Olave, Adams, Neighbors. Call your shot.
Oh, we'll go Chris Olave, but I do feel I don't care too much. I was just so happy we weren't forced into like Saquon Barkley's an ADP value here, because I do not want to do that.
No, I don't think we've drafted Saquon Barkley at all on this channel this whole off season, and we're definitely.
I think we've taken him once, actually. I know we shit on his quarterback mere moments ago, but are we going Malik Neighbors?
Yeah, we're going Neighbors here. We're going Neighbors.
Yeah, like
disclaimer: we hate his quarterback, but we like the player.
Look, we love the player. Neighbors is like you just got to plug your nose and say a guy who went 6 overall, elite prospect profile, and then he gets on the field in preseason and immediately looks like a stud. Guy's probably a stud.
Yeah,
I mean, what Ian noted, it was like a 38% or 35% target share in one half of football. Even if it was basically the same stat line of Slayton, we want to focus on the targets.
Yeah. I mean, I think it was like mid to low 30% target share on a limited sample, but like, duh, he's way better than these other guys. I believe he will like push that high 20s, or at least I think it's certainly within the range of outcomes.
Yeah, the final thing with Gibbs is like if the whole backfield goes to him, he's an absolute smash in contingent value land, which is part of what's keeping Monty's price up, obviously. But then there's the chance that like they use like Achane kind of being talked about, McDaniel talking a lot about. We are using him in the pass game. We're looking at more ways to get him involved. Ben Johnson's awesome, probably like top 5, schematic mind. So it's like knowing JMO is kind of a boom bust manufactured touch guy. Why not use Gibbs in a more pass-friendly role? And that could super unlock his ceiling. But that's a little bit of projection, right? And it's hard to also say that he's getting to do that when he's missing time, not getting to do installs and stuff. So it's like the talent is obviously there from that, but we've kind of done this before with Swift and it's had mixed results. That said, in best ball, if he hits like a 3-game stretch of like, oh my God, there it is, there's the dream, and those are the final playoff weeks, then he smashes. And if not, it was like we see the vision, but it was a miss. So it feels very binary to me that he either grows into a huge role and smashes, or he gets that contingent smash upside, or we kind of overdrafted him and he's good, but maybe not outplaying the Kyrens, the Jonathan Taylors, the Isaiah Pacheco's if he doesn't get the same amount of workload. That said, this team does seem like a team that just wants to run a lot in the red zone with Goff, and obviously that can just give both those guys stupid high spikes because they don't really use Amon-Ra in the red zone as much. And if Laporta has any sort of regression in his red zone usage, that could directly benefit the running backs because JMO is not exactly a red zone threat himself. So it's a weird player, and I'm willing to buy him at cheaper prices, fading the week 1 hamstring injury thing.
Kyle, I made Nico Collins. Well, I made Tank Dell the thumbnail on this show because coming out of the weekend, it's all Nico Collins and Stephon Diggs of the guys running in 2 wide receiver sets. John Mechie was even running ahead of Tank Dell at one point. Are you worried for Tank Dell that if he can't crack those, that his ADP normally right around this spot isn't going to be worthwhile?
I mean, of course I'm worried. I don't like it. I believe they've run 11 personnel in just 56% of their preseason snaps so far. I mean, this is what we saw last year too, and this is kind of what we see from the Shanahan tree. And it's not to say that they're being quote stupid. They design really good plays that just also get part of their advantage from using, for some of them it's a fullback, for some of them it's multiple tight ends, for some of them it's multiple running backs. They design really good plays, but some of those plays come without a third. I mean, a lot of those plays, frankly, come without a third wide receiver on the field. I will say, it'd probably honestly be pretty stupid to play a second tight end over ever playing Tank Dell. But I understand that they actually have a system that works, and that we should kind of expect them to continue doing what works, in that the play design oftentimes relies on having a second of a running back or a tight end out there. And Tank Dell makes sense as the odd man out. He's tiny and got hurt blocking last year. So I do think it's a bit scary, but so many of these times, I really don't want to get too lost in the weeds of we think their 11 personnel rate's going to be this, and that would mean a route share of this, when Tank Dell's just a certified stud. The dude is an absolute baller. I'm just plugging my nose and saying, I actually do feel there's a pretty good bit of risk here with Tank Dell, but the reward is that he is a superstar, which I do think that it's firmly within the range of outcomes for him, given how elite his rookie season was.
Right.
So back on the clock. Tyler, what are you liking?
I say we keep the piss stream strong, Kyle. Who do you like here?
I think the only other option would be to go Mahomes, but we've already lost Rice, and I'm not willing to say bet it all on getting Worthy back. So I'm fine continuing with wide receiver.
Okay. Well, we're going to end up with Cooper as the slight faller and the correlation on Hill unless someone speaks.
Nope.
Okay.
No.
Fine. I was ready to pause time itself, guys. I have this power. So feel free to speak out late. I can literally freeze time.
Any interest in Josh Jacobs here with Marshawn Lloyd's banged up and not great reports around that situation?
Or I feel like our service is just 0 RB the whole way.
Yeah, I'm not going Marshawn, or I'm not going Josh Jacobs.
Okay, call your shot. Who are we pulling up?
No, Pickens is fine. Pickens is the best bet by ADP, and he's a really good football player. So fine with me. He definitely would have been my pick there.
And Ayuk's likely not going anywhere, so we get Pickens at some of the cheapest prices as a wide receiver 5. Okay, Arthur Smith can be a donkey, and this team can suck, and the volume can be low. But as wide receiver 5, if he has access to a 28% target share, 3 deep ball nuke stealing type of play, I am good with it.
I think the hope is that he turns in a very sort of decent but not great season, but they come in the form of 30.77, 30 point, and in best ball, that's great. Those are the ones that really make the difference, and even more so make the difference when you're in the hundreds of 100-man finals, the 500, 600-man finals that you've got in Best Ball Mania, or the DraftKings one is the same super large finals. So it does feel like maybe it's tough for him to hit a really big win. You look at the best AJ Brown seasons in Tennessee, they're mostly just getting over 1,000 yards, good touchdown seasons. Maybe that's kind of where his ceiling is capped at and doesn't feel great at this point. But the alternative is Josh Jacobs, who they drafted a rookie and then immediately start telling us, nope, we love committees. Our committees are our favorite thing. We love how committees work and how much we love them. It's hard to describe. And he's Josh Jacobs. We saw last year that the talent fall off was, or the efficiency, which kind of should correlate to talent to some degree, fall off, was very real. There aren't a lot of picks I feel great about here. I do know George Pickens is really good at football. And I think sometimes we get, like I was saying with Tank Dell, when you find out a guy's really good at football, it's pretty easy to just make that bet and let the chips fall where they may.
Yeah, I'm definitely not high on George Pickens in terms of exposure, but I think when you're talking about your wide receiver 5, that's a situation I'm more than happy to take him. Like if you ended up the team at the 104 who went Breece Hall, Jonathan Taylor, took Lamar Jackson in there as well, and then in the fifth round, you're sort of looking at George Pickens as your wide receiver 2. Or even if you were looking at him as your wide receiver 3 on some of these other teams in there, that's where I really struggle with him. But it's just very difficult to project him for a huge amount of targets. But I think no wide receivers ever had more than 72 receptions under Arthur Smith. And part of that is coming back to crappy quarterback play at times, but we're definitely not getting
You'll never
away
believe
from
what Pittsburgh's going to get this year.
And yet, Fields just running around like a chicken with his head cut off and chucking it deep is what really unlocks Pickens' true ceiling in this build, and that seems to be, stronger than ever. That he's got a chance to mix in a lot more than some of his detractors thought, and luckily it was just old age and Russ looking like Rusty instead of Russ. So.
Yeah, like who's the betting? I think Pickens is a very strong bet. This is really leading us down a dumb rabbit hole. A very strong bet to be the number 1 receiver in terms of air yard share this year. He is going to have such a massive chasm between him and his teammates in targets at a deep target depth. A lot of the guys who have that sort of extremely high target share, you look at someone say like Michael Pittman last year. He was just clearly the team's best receiver, especially Josh Downs got banged up down the stretch, and they ran a lot of this RPO. Easy layups to Michael Pittman. But it's really hard for him to put together giant chunk gains whenever a lot of his stuff is 6, 7, 8, 9 yards downfield. We're going to have that same target share, but an 8 out of 12, 13. And of course, there are going to be valleys in that profile where we go 2 to 3 weeks where the deep shots don't connect. But I think he probably is the leading favorite to lead the NFL in air yard share for what that's worth.
So when we started 5 wide receivers back to back like this, what are you thinking? How many is the total wide receivers we're going to end up with here, Kyle?
I think we probably end up with 7. I think if we stopped right now and didn't hit it till way later, that's a spot where you get to 8. I can't imagine there's just no scenario in which we really need to get to 9 here. Even if it's literally our last 4 picks, I can't imagine that 9th or hardly that 8th player is worth it. So it's 7 or 8, depending on how we distribute those picks.
Not real comfortable starting 6 straight and just cutting it off, even after BBM.
Oh, no, we can do that. I guess I hadn't thought about that. Yeah, no.
He's like, I just need more. Okay, guys.
Plus,
I say this is a great time to cut it off. We cap it with Fat Keenan being our caboose.
Sure, let's do that. Yeah.
Like Keenan, we are buying the dip.
And we have a good stack of running backs here where, I don't care which dusty one comes back to us, like Joe Mixon, Rachaad White, Dave Montgomery. I don't like any of these guys, but they fit our team perfectly. Throw any one of these guys on here. But Keenan is Keenan's like that last call at really strong wide receiver talent, as long as he's not fat. Which I don't
he caught 3 touchdowns in practice today, but when you get in a non-sharp room, he comes all the way back around, baby.
Well, of course he caught 3 touchdowns. He's boxing them out the 1 yard line.
Well, Kyle, he's literally they're running a 3 tight end set when Keenan's on the field.
Yes. I think didn't Brock Wright last year or 2 years ago have a 3 touchdown game? That's what we're looking for here.
All right. Which dusty ass running back do we want here? I'm probably White, Connor, or Monty. Probably White or Connor. Kyle.
Yeah, I'd go White here just for ADP reasons. But honestly, I think Connor's a better player. I think that's cowardice on my part that I didn't say.
I agree with that. That said, I don't mind a little when we can just keep stacking a super team as far as talent, value, and construction. That's nice. We also didn't take either, Tampa Bay receiver yet, so I don't mind kind of playing into and I was listening to the Legendary Sickos podcast, and Rich is very, very adamant that hey, no matter what Bucky mixes in with, he is still small boy, and small boy do not get run at goal line, and so it's Rashad could just be the goal line back in an offense that we are probably docking a little bit too much with the Canales exit.
And Coach Speak Index has been firmly in on this pretty much the entire offseason that small running backs under top bowls just don't get a lot of touches. I think he's walked it back slightly in recent weeks, because we've not a positive buzz for Bucky Irving. But I don't think if Rachaad White went down that we necessarily get 300 touch season from Bucky Irving. But I probably should take more Rashad White, but in a lot of drafts, he just goes in a range, particularly on DraftKings, where I don't want to draft him, so I just don't draft him. I just don't even really see him in ADP. Like I was just
Straight
drafting
up, I do not see him. I swear to
Yeah.
God, I've drafted him. I think twice. He's got the less than symbol, less than 1% on DraftKings for me. He's a little more. I mean, he's meaningfully more palatable. I think he's like almost around different on Underdog. So probably
Yeah.
a spot where like I really should sort of try and have some humility and take him on a site that really is going to give me a better price. I don't want to, but especially Underdog, I'm just straight up. I'm going to get 0 on DraftKings. Well, less than 1. So.
It's almost like the reverse better in best ball thing with Rashad White for me, where it's like I feel like I'd almost want to take him in my home league more than best ball, because in best ball I'm kind of trying to construct a wide receiver room as a priority, but in home leagues, these running backs are going to get pushed up. Like, the guys, Najee Harris is going to be like a 4th round pick in a lot of home leagues. And so if I'm going to take Rashad White in those kind of situations, I can at least tell myself that he can be a PPR scam and I can get by on him there rather than taking some of the other running backs who perhaps are pretty dusty for other reasons. And instead, I'd rather take him. I mean, that might be a terrible take from me, but it's just one which has been ruminating through my mind as we kind of close in on things.
Yeah, I mean, your home league's also going to give you like Malik Neighbors at the 4 or 5 turn or whatever. Like his Yahoo ADP is like, you've got to be kidding me. And I'm sure his ADP on most other more casual sites is the same way, where your home league's going to just give you a lot of leniency on just straight up not great picks.
Yeah, it's definitely hit the point. I've got my home league draft on Sunday, and I'm definitely starting to think, which of these players do I not want to tweet about this week? So after that pick where we went Rashad White, we do get a bit of a running back run. Jordan Love coming off the board. Jaden Daniels going in the 7th round. Tyler, I've not been in the underdog streets since last Monday when we were on here. Is Jaden Daniels getting pushed up that much a lot over last week?
No, this is the earliest I've been seeing him go is kind of like if Jordan Love, if there's like a little mini quarterback run here at the 7-8 turn with Jordan Love and Burrow, maybe he goes. But I mean, I've been drafting nonstop all weekend because I'm well adjusted and I've still been getting him regularly at or around ADP, sometimes even all the way back at like 109, 112, 111. So that's definitely odd.
Kyle, anything standing out to you here? You want to buy the dip on Jalen Warren?
I gotta say, I kind of think we are buying the dip on Jalen Warren.
It's
well, he stacks.
Oh God, he totally stacks. Absolutely.
That's why I wanted him.
I mean, I don't know. He was a great pick before. He's going a lot later now. And the thing is, he might not play week 1. I get there's also re-injury risk, which that's probably what scares me more than the fact that we might miss the first game, which like everyone's healthy otherwise on our team for the first game. It's the fact that, he gets chunks of the middle season taken out because he re-aggravates it or something. But at these prices, he seems like a good pick, even acknowledging the not very fun risk.
Now, here's the question. Do we want to take Bowers or running backs here, or do we want to lock up a Caleb to Keenan stack?
Can you tab running backs real quick so I can see what we're looking at? I think I'd go Javonte here.
Me too. You good with that, Tom?
Yeah, I'm good with that. Tyler, like you've been out on Javonte for most of the offseason. Like I had to force you to draft him on one team a little while back.
Okay, yeah. I'm gonna pull up my exposures. I would not say out. I am at the field. I have been hesitant. But anyway, go ahead.
No. I was just gonna say, is it literally the case that now that we're in camp where you're just like, okay, the drumbeat is so positive for him that you feel better about the overall situation, or is it just that you think the distance between him and Estime and Jaleel is substantial?
Well, so it really just comes down to 2 things easily for me. I want to strong opinions held loosely. So I was not sold that he would be a very likely candidate to year 2 off of multi-ligament injury to be like, I was not sold that was definitely the case. I was very concerned that he has this is just who he is and he's just less efficient. And then now if his coach is talking about all these other running backs and what if P-Run doesn't get cut and it's a 3 running back committee, God forbid a 4-1, blah, 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 blah. Then all of a sudden he has a lot thinner of outs to matter versus some of these other running backs I felt much, much better about very early on. Fast forward 3-4 months, he's looked good and in a healthy way. His coach is praising him in a seemingly legit way. The other guys are not really panning out to be much of anything. P. Ryan does look to be on the outs. And also, local beat reporter Albright has been saying for 2 months, Javante's the running back one for the first time in 4 years, by the way. Like he's been the guy that says he's the 1A or the 1B. He's not the guy, overdrafting him for years. And he was also the guy telling you he doesn't look like himself and they might rush him back too soon last year, which is why I was off of him. But I want to adjust now. I'm about like 8% now after 500 something drafts on Underdog. And it is very apparent that he's going to be the lead guy for goal line and get a shit ton of Bo Nix. This is new coming a Drew Brees scam era of short A-dot passes, and maybe the team's not complete dog shit, which he could just spike with touchdowns. So versus the guys like I will be probably taking Javonte over the Chase Brown, Zach Moss guys because I think the talent there much better. His ability to like consolidate an 80+% workload is much more likely any given week or stretch of weeks. And I mean, it's just this is a point where I'm going to hammer what looks like the best bets. And he's one of the better bets for like a true RB1, and that's in the 9th round. So I think his price is still poor. The fact that Chase Brown's going over him that's probably wrong because we're doing a lot of projecting for Chase Brown at that cost from a talent and situation perspective, wherever Javonte has shown us he can handle a 65 to 75% workload with pass catching and running. He's got size. So yeah, I'm very cool shifting away and saying those concerns were legitimate, but they have been swayed. And I can't wait to get way over the field on him. He suffered an ankle injury week 3 and just completely bury me. I can feel
it. Kyle, how are you playing the Broncos backfield? Because we're doing a new series at the minute with some people coming on talking about their favorite picks in drafts and favorite sleepers, and several people have responded to me telling me that Jaleel McLaughlin is their favorite sleeper pick.
Oh, I think other than Samaje, because I don't think he'll be on the team, it seems unlikely at this point. Middle of the summer, I was like, it's 50-50. I understand why they keep him. At this point, I think he's not likely to be on the team. Estime seems to be more of a depth option at this point. He hasn't really gotten much reps. I don't think he's gotten a single rep with the starters in the preseason. So I like Javonte. I will say the Jaleel preseason usage where he just started to subsume the Samaje role, that really makes me want to draft a lot of Jaleel. So it makes it a little hard to stick up on Javonte, but I still draft. I'm drafting both of them. It feels very clear that there's a winner here.
Yeah, so we're back on the clock. We could take Tua for that stack.
I think we can push him around.
Let's push him around. And I mean, we could go Goddard here without a tight end. He's not my favorite pick, but we're starting to run thin on guys who I actually think are good at football at tight end. So
yeah, I'm good with Goddard. I think, as you put it, running thin on guys who are good at football. And then Tua, if he comes back to us, definitely works for the stack. In terms of the running back room, would you be open to taking Javonte and Jaleel on the same roster, or is that just not something you'd do?
No, I think I'm in for that. I don't think I'd make it a priority, but I do think it's at the point where they're relatively cheap. Like you're not having to pay, HN Mostert prices, which I also think in some builds is maybe okay, given that they would have crushed even at their current prices last year, given how efficient the Devon HN was and how touchdown heavy Mostert was. But I think the fact that they come so much cheaper than a lot of other backfields, and there are paths in which both of them can win. Javonte gets a lot of early down work, offensive surprise. He's more efficient. He was an incredible tackle breaker in college and was that way in his NFL career up until last year, obviously, when he was just legit not very good. But he was panning out as, this guy breaks tackles. You can't bring him down. He's explosive in college. And then that translated right away. He can just be 2 downs, extremely efficient. And Jaleel McLaughlin can catch a bunch of passes and also be extremely efficient. And we know Sean Payton funnels fantasy points to his entire backfield, to multiple backs in his backfield. So I don't think it's something where I'm like, I'm getting a big edge by drafting both these guys together. But if the room gives me it, I'm totally down for that.
Yeah, I think a backfield, there's a lot of value, and they're relatively cheap is definitely one to target, a la Miami, a la Cincinnati. One of the things I'm just worried about with McLaughlin is he is like new Darren Sproles, but we have no idea if he's going to be fed truly like Darren Sproles. And with his size, I don't know that he gets much goal line work. But yeah, I mean, at his price, it's like if he pops a couple long ones like he did last year, my concern is just how he was kind of phased out last year. And then they brought in a couple new guys that Peyton seemingly likes. So I have a hard time wanting to invest a lot into a Sean Payton offense, but I think that is also a reason to attack a level of uncertainty, but maybe with some, some humility of like, I'm going to try to target Javonte and McLaughlin, but maybe not the worst thing to also, handcuff Javonte with Estime, because seemingly Blake Watson's not really a thing.
Yeah.
Could have been, whatever.
Yeah.
So
I think there was an element of they were trying to push Javonte to see how recovered he was, whether he was fine. Like you go back to the first 6-7 weeks, they were giving him like 13 touches per game. It was really quite low on the double-digit ends. And then it hit week 8 and they gave him 30 touches. Week 10, they gave him 25 touches. And then at that point, they really pulled back again. And it seemed like they realized that he wasn't fully capable of just taking the entire workload as well. So it's definitely a situation that I've spent an awful lot of time thinking about and try to decide how I want to play it. And at the minute, I'm just, you get into a draft, one of them fits structurally and one of them fits for stacking purposes or things like that. And it's just an easier click than it possibly was a few weeks ago.
Tom, can I just take a moment? Oh, I'm so sorry, Kyle. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. We'll have
Tom, can I just take a moment to say that your load counter usage tonight, I think we're well into the triple digits. You have used the word load a lot. So congrats. Go ahead, Kyle.
I was trying to see what stacks what quarterbacks do we have that we can add here?
Yeah, great question. So it's we can speak freely. We snuck ourselves in. So looking like we can do a Baker with McMillions or Otten type of thing. I'm totally okay not taking any more receivers and really pushing the edge here, but we've got Derek Carr, Deshaun Watson, Justin Fields.
A whole lot of bad quarterbacks we can add to this.
This is true. Yeah.
I don't think we're adding any of them here as far as I can tell.
Unless we want to take Watson.
No, I don't. Nothing sounds worse than being honest.
Name your running back or tight end of choice.
Algier. Let's go. Oh, or we could go Jalen Wright, actually. Yeah, do that. Do Jalen Wright if you can get it up.
Yeah,
Jalen Wright makes sense of stack.
Yeah.
Yep. And we've got some pretty we've got the two players we're counting on probably to start for us for week 1 are Javonte and Rachaad White. As much as I like them, they're probably not swing for the fences type of, especially on a weekly basis. Raheem Mostert goes down today, and where are we drafting Jalen Wright? It is a sick number. I don't want to think about it, but it is a sick number.
We got both.
Is there any? None of the tight ends here are worth their salt.
Yeah,
I'd be happy to take Algier.
Yeah, fine with me.
Carl, got a question in the chat from Historical Anomalies, one of our YouTube members. Are you partaking in the draft marathon tomorrow?
I don't even know what this is in reference to.
So that's probably not.
So this might be in reference to the Rotoworld draft marathon, but I don't think that's tomorrow. I gotta get my schedule right if that's tomorrow.
No, I can't wait for this to be the way you found out you were on the draft marathon.
No, well, Rotoworld has a draft marathon, but I swear to God it was on Thursday.
Well, today's Wednesday, Kyle. Come on.
Wait. Oh my God! I thought you were not joking.
Holy shit!
There we go. My bad. Thought Rotopat was going to do it.
No, we are. I believe it's just Thursday, but also some of it's pre-taped, so it's actually literally happened earlier today. We filmed some stuff. We do have other drafts coming up, so I swear it's Thursday. I will be on the draft marathon, the Rotoworld draft marathon. I will be on. I feel like we're airing it on Thursday though, but I will be on.
I did not know Carson Steele looked like Thor, guys. I'm adjusting my ranks. My God.
Yeah, he's a big dude.
Look at that bouncy hair and those biceps.
He's 6 foot 228. I think they're going to use him as a gadget. I think he's going to be a fullbacky gadget. Andy Reid, he's not quite fullback size, only 6 foot. Like a lot of the fullbacks, 6'2", 240. They're really rocks up dudes.
Christ.
But that dude could be 6 foot 238 by the end of training camp.
Built like a dump truck. My God.
Yeah, I know. Yeah. Who's the NFL analyst talking about? I believe it was Andrews Pete. Look at that body. Look at that bubble butt. At the combine. I don't remember who it was.
Famously. Oh yeah, no. Good recall. Good recall.
Yeah, was it Andrews Pete who went to Stanford? And
I think that's what it was.
I don't remember which NFL analyst it was, but it was on live TV, and he was talking about the build of a left guard or whatever. He's like, look at that body, look at that bubble butt. What were we talking? I think
Go ahead.
Carson Steele is going to be like just a gadgety fullback. They have him listed as a fullback on the team site. Some of the reporters have called him a fullback. I think he'll play a little bit of both. He was like an okay-ish college running back.
They've used a fullback in this offense before, like what? Anthony
almost every
right?
year. I was finding some reports on this. And it was like Andy Reid has only not used a fullback 3 times. It was Anthony Sherman, like I think that's what you're saying, and then Michael Burton most recently.
Yes.
But Andy Reid has almost always used a fullback. Last year they just straight up didn't keep one, but in the vast majority of his seasons he has had a fullback. I think Carson Steele would be like a fullback hybrid. Like maybe he also does some of the passing down stuff.
They use him like a youth check, most likely.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. Not maybe like a more involved fullback to some degree. Right. Probably also ends up playing some special teams. But I don't know how much that like impacts the third running back. I guess that still maybe leaves room for Deneric Prince or Clyde, who I think is sick right now. Like,
so yeah, that's a good question. So it's a good point to like bring up that it seems like all comments point to CH being like, we know what we have in him. He's our preferred passing down Jerick McKinnon type of replacement. The problem is he's missed so much time with this PTSD stuff. I hadn't heard this, Kyle, but allegedly there's talk of potentially starting him on the PUP because he's not been able to like really partake in training camp ramp up. I haven't seen that corroborated, so I'm grain of salt. But if that's the case, that's pretty concerning to him being kind of like leaned on as that guy, because maybe this is that bullshit kidney stone sickness, losing all the weight.
Was it like gallbladder surgery?
Gallbladder, that's what it was. Yeah. So it's like I've been operating like he's likely the RB2, but if he's going to miss a ton of time and not be involved, they have no reason to really like lean on him, and that's got me pretty concerned for like him really being involved for anything mid to early season, which I know is not that important, but he might just be like a pure playoff, like real life playoffs type of play.
It's like, even if you can maybe vaguely pencil him in as the RB2, what do you even win when you win at this point? What do we got here?
It's probably a time to get Baker and Otten is my thought, unless y'all have other thoughts.
Yeah.
I'm down with
good with that. Yep, looks good to me.
Let's start it. Yeah.
First.
Yeah. I was gonna say Mahomes. I think we're good. Yeah.
Okay. I just saw he only had one tight end. I didn't realize he had invested in Mahomes as well. So that works out for us. Oh, he goes tight end. So we did it.
Oh, we called it.
God damn, we're good.
That's an easy pick. Kyle, one of the running back situations coming off like last weekend that everyone was talking about was Braylon Allen looking like the clear-cut RB2 behind Breece Hall. But then this weekend, like it was like Isaiah Davis, it was mixing in way more. Were you taking a lot of Braylon Allen last week? Are you backing off it now, or just kind of carrying on as you were?
No, I believe Allen got the start, and they gave Isaiah Davis a look, but Allen has looked better in training camp, looked better in the preseason. And then we had, I think it was right after the game, Robert Salah heaping him with praise and about the stuff that you would normally say like was not in Allen's profile. He's not a pass catcher. He was not a technically sound pass blocker. He's big enough to do that stuff, but he just doesn't have the skill set to do it. And Salah was saying that they see that as part of his game, and a game they're confident in that he has. They've gotten all the right comments. The usage has mostly been there. I do agree. Isaiah Davis getting like splitting that starting, quote, starting reps didn't make me as confident. But the fact that Robert Salah, I think it was right after the game, maybe it was like the final press conference before, was heaping it with praise about all the right things too. Like, what you want to see from the backup is that he's got the technical stuff down. That's why CEH, who's the worst, like one of the worst running backs in the league, is able to beat out a hyper athlete like Deneric Prince because he has the technically sound stuff down. At least that's what they told us right away, was that Deneric Prince, to really sort of take that RB2 role, he's got to get the pass blocking. He's got to get the blitz pickup stuff. They told us CH has that stuff down, and that's why he's had that job. That's why they're penciling him in. Braylon Allen's kind of doing that stuff, but he's also a terrifyingly big and powerful athletic dude who was running for like 1,400 yards at the age of 17 or something. I mean, it's really interesting. And I think the question now is, he probably has the RB2 role locked up. I'm still pretty confident in that. Question is, can he steal some work from Breece Hall and become probably not a guy you can ever rely on in redraft? But if you're getting every third or every fourth drive, you'll pop up. Even if Breece Hall stays healthy the whole year, you'll pop up for a touchdown and 40 yards at some point.
Yeah, if he gets like the Dalvin Cook workload and not being a complete dust ball like Dalvin Cook, exactly. It's a pretty good pick.
So I'm still hammering him, even though Yeah, we saw some Isaiah Davis. I'm not too concerned about that.
Yeah, Tim Patrick going off the board at the start of the 16th round is something I didn't have on my bingo card a few weeks ago. Like, it's
Well, the irony is that the dude that took Bo Nix at 159 gets sniped on Tim Patrick, 25 picks ahead of ADP. So welcome, and his fourth tight end, dude. That's why I love these rooms. Is like fuck drafting with these sharp sickos. Give me the.
I mean, that's why I love drafting on DraftKings so much. Everyone looks like this, but I do think that
when you get to the playoffs and then it's like you and all your supercharged friends just showing up beefed out of your mind, going like, ah, shit.
I don't know.
We'll all meet there for a little bit of a shootout because I'm getting there more often than I am on Underdog. Although I wonder now if maybe like the badgeless rooms are going to be much. I mean, they literally just will be more common. It's almost a matter
no
of
offense
fact.
to the badgeless.
Badges, we love you. I don't have a badge. I don't draft that much on Underdog. I've drafted.
Oh my god, we're doing a stream with a dirty badgeless person. God,
no offense to the dirty badgeless.
No, all due respect. No offense. Nothing personal. I just can't stand your lack of badge.
What do we got here?
We can probably set up
Derek Carr works.
Derek Carr double
maybe
stack.
not. Yeah,
or we get a little Drake May action. Yeah.
Oh hell yeah! we can probably wait on Drake May, so let's do something.
Can we?
Tyler, do you want Jalen McMillan?
Let's go Jalen McMillan. Let's go Jalen McMillan. I'm fine pushing the final wide receiver, and then we could just do like single Derek Carr or whatever. Or I guess Derek Carr, Jawan if we need another tight end. But
I think Jawan already went.
I'm fine. I'm fine with the Carr single is fine.
Yeah,
I will say I'm cool with these 5. I wouldn't mind a 6th because I'm pretty good with these 2 tight ends if we want to do a quarterback and a running back. So which one do we want to push final? Do we want to take Carr here, take running back to finish, or how do you want to do this?
Yeah, that's fine with me. Let's do that because, I mean, I don't want Drake May naked. I'd be fine with it, honestly. Dude's just going to run for 700 yards this year. But,
hold on. You don't want this hunk of a man naked? I'm doing this. Just one moment. There we go. That's the picture I want.
Yeah. So I was just gonna
you know what naked Drake May? Look at that guy. Hungry.
No.
Just run all over his enemies. All right, go ahead, Tom.
So I'm just going to touch on this quickly for historical anomalies. I know your research put it towards 3683 on DK, and I'm sure you covered it, but you ever adding a 4th QB on DK, say in a Fields type situation? I think, you can definitely look to those situations and say, if I'm going to choose an outlier, then it needs to be something like this where a player is going to get in later on in the season. I think on DraftKings, you can afford to carry a quarterback who isn't going to play for large amounts of the season. You've only got to go back to the year where Jordan Love was on the winning roster in 2022 and barely touched the ball. Jacoby Brissett was also on that roster. It was a 4 QB team, but generally speaking, it's not something I do.
Was that year or was it last year? The team was like Russell Wilson, the one who won last year. The team was like almost entirely unstacked.
Yeah, let me chuck it up on here.
Wait, which team are we talking about?
The DraftKings winner from one of the last 2 years.
Oh my God, Tom! Yeah. Give a man a warning before you blind him.
So Russell Wilson stacked with just Jerry Jeudy, and then only like a non-QB Eagles stack. But aside from that, it was revolting. Let's get back to a nice.
All right, let's do a little bit of pre-planning since we can speak freely. We can handcuff the backfield. I probably don't love that. Speak freely. Thoughts.
Get rid of the tight ends. Let's see if we have any good scroll downers at running back here. Honestly,
this is why we bring Kyle on.
Dylan Laub mixing in a decent bit in the Vegas backfield. Seems like he's
blown up in pass
role. Carson Steele. Like if we're gonna,
Carson Steele would be fun. No, I'll be honest. All these guys are terrible picks. Not a single good one.
I mean, Kendre stacks and Madison's getting work, but it's
Kendre Miller. What a sickening pick.
Yeah, you sickos were taking him at 140 2 months ago.
Oh no, some other idiots were taking him at 140.
Hey, stop living in the past, man. Like,
Kyle's gonna go try to crack his apartment window, and he's like, "Oh no, it's anti-suicide. I won't open up."
Kendre, oh god, he's probably right that Kendre is the pick, but I mean, I can't say that.
I mean, Kendra Miller
know
had a
what?
massive week 18 last year. If he could have a massive week 17 this year.
Tom, you were so close to hitting your bingo card. You could have said he had a massive load last year, and you would have
Oof.
yeah, it sucks, but it's probably
It's probably the right move.
Well,
you
look,
pull up the legendary upside sidekick, and it's like, well, technically the numbers say you should take Kendra Miller.
Kyle.
I mean,
we do reserve these moments for literally not making the pick. We take it off. Jesus makes the pick, not us, and you can't be mad at Jesus. Those are just the rules.
Well, is there?
I don't know about
anyone...
I can't be mad at Jesus, but I'll let him make the pick.
Is there anyone at tight end or wide receiver that we'd make a better case for?
We are not taking another wide receiver. We took a falling McMillian.
No, we're not taking another wide receiver.
And then tight ends fine. I think running back makes more sense, truly, because we've got two kind of handcuff rookie. I mean, we could do the five that no one does. I don't mind going after just one pure handcuff when we're that strong at perceived quarterback and tight end, frankly. But if it's tight end, it's probably Theo. I think that's the bigger.
I agree with you. If it's tight end, it's Theo. I mean, my God, Kendra's just such a bad pick. Like, his coach freaking hates his guts. All he does is talk about how much he sucks and that he can't stay healthy and he's not going to make the team.
And yet in week 6, when Kamara pulls his hammy from not working out all season, he's going to mix it in. Call your shot. What are we doing here? Tight end or running back?
I got 9 seconds. Hold on.
Pray to your God.
The move is probably Kendra.
It's Kendra. And I mean, considering
we didn't make the pick. Blame it on.
when Dennis Allen gets fired by week 7 because his players are all sick of him and hate him to the point where once again they're not running the plays that he asks them to, then perhaps Kendra gets set free, and that's, we start seeing a little bit more. Like, I just got done drafting a FFPC Superflex team with Colm on the Rotoviz channel, and there we ended up taking Spencer Rattler in the 20th round because we'd gotten boxed out a little bit on quarterback, and we were talking about like Dennis Allen and Derek Carr are probably the quarterback and head coaching duo who are most hated by their own fans across the entire league.
Oh yeah, definitely.
It is true.
It's I don't think it's even close. Like, who else would we have? Like, Deshaun Watson is probably hated by a decent bit of Cleveland fans, but obviously
Stefanski's loved.
Yeah. Like,
and you've kind of got the same thing. Russell Wilson, if you count him as the quarterback, sure, Steelers fans probably don't care for / hate him, but they've got a coach that is everyone loves and the players love. He's a great players coach too. Dennis Allen seems like a dreadful players coach, and Derek Carr seems not fun to work with either.
Yeah. No, it's good. Kyle,
it has to be the answer. Yeah.
How do you feel about his team after, we made that pick, which none of us felt great about right at the end?
I actually do like this team. I think we nailed how you want to do a heavy wide receiver start. I think this is something like Hayden has pointed out too, is that the extremely heavy wide receiver starts are generally really good. The way you fumble the bag is getting to 9 receivers and you leave yourself really weak at all the other positions, but the 9th receiver is doing absolutely nothing for your team. So I just think we did a really strong, this is how you start whatever we did, 5 or 6 receivers, 6 receivers in a row. Got our stacks, fumbled the bag with one final pick, but it's fine.
Dennis Allen's on a hot seat. Kendra Miller catches passes. And at the 18th round pick, when it's him or Alexander Madison or Kenny Gainwell, like I have to say that like Jamal Williams is not going to be a thing. He looked so dusty. The offensive line's probably worse this year somehow. And Kamara's both on a contract cliff and an age cliff situation. So it's like if we get one single game, like literally now, we can get a single usable game out of Kendra and he pays off ADP. And the fact that it's also stacked is not a bad thing. And yeah, I love building like this. And hilariously, I think almost every single one of my like heavy 0 RB BBMs end up with a Rashad White in the 7th or 8th round falling past ADP. But no, this team fucks. Kyle, we built a good one here. I think we
think we built a pretty good one.
I invite our guests to do the honors when we draft a good team. So please hit the nut button. In honor of Tom saying the word load no less than 1,000 times and us gawking over Carson Steele's juicy booty. It's a good team.
No, I think it's a fun team, and definitely the Keenan Allen dip, definitely worth buying. Yeah, I think there's plenty to
I mean,
like.
yeah. Is this the lowest Keenan's gone in a BBM? It has to be close. My God.
I mean, we're probably just also on the upper percentile for overall like ADP value. If you just measure it by like auction dollar value, getting really good values on guys like White, like Keenan, picking a few picks past ADP. Amari Cooper, like almost all, like literally almost all of our picks are past ADP, some by a lot. And I mean, I think that's a really strong way to play.
Yeah. And McMillan back at like his big board price, despite all the camp hype. Like you're going to get one of the better late rookie wide receiver bets at a free price. Like, that's even better.
Kyle, like, is there any player, like, in terms of like we're getting a dip on right now who you're really just hammering in every single draft? Is it like whether it's Jalen Warren or somebody later?
Yeah, Warren's a really good one. I do think Zach Moss at the dip, as someone, it's easy for me to say because I had no Zach Moss earlier. I was like, oh, fast player, go Bird, Chase Brown. And Zach Moss is being paid like kind of a fringy backup. Don't love that. Now, when Chase Brown goes really at like, he's the peak of his value and probably the peak of where we could have imagined ourselves valuing him. I don't know, not a great college prospect who really gets a lot of credit for a single screen in which he just had a 100-meter dash track lined up for him. Coast off that a lot. Not a giant dude either. Zach Moss was good last year. It's just legitimately good. Now when their prices are flipped completely, I can start to sell myself on the other guy. This is very easy for me to say because I think it's smart if you can get good prices to have a balanced portfolio, especially when the good price simply comes from sort of very vague news items in that Chase Brown looks good. He's getting run with the ones. It's not Zach Moss broke his ankle. Obviously, you have to reevaluate that. But this is, Chase Brown looks good. We probably undersold his role. It's not he's the clear RB1. Case settled. It's over. I still think Zach Moss projects for more carries, probably. He's less efficient on those, and he's not going to catch many passes. But if you could still just get like Joe Mixon minus, like never throw to Joe Mixon, he still would have been a good pick at this price last year, the year before that, the year he scored 5 touchdowns in a game or whatever. So I think it's a good time. Yeah. It's a good time to buy the dip on Zach Moss. He was genuinely not a great pick a month ago. That's pretty solid right now. And especially if you run on Chase Brown, you should probably try and have this sort of balanced type portfolio when you can get the prices to line up with where you're taking players.
Yeah. The guys over at Fantasy Unleashed have been very much on that like, in the ambiguous backfield where even after the ADP's flipped, if there's not a clear difference between them or a real consensus that it's the most sensible pick is Chase Brown, then it's a good time to just add in some Zach Moss to it. I fully agree. I think that's
especially because either guy can just absolutely smash if either one misses time. So it's like just
even if Zach Moss is straight the loser, he just is the RB2. It's not going to be Travion Williams or Chris Evans platooning should something happen to Chase Brown. It's probably just a lot of Zach Moss.
That's a good note. This might be the first year the Cincinnati backfield in a long time is consolidated like it has. Because even last year they were going to try to mix in 2 guys behind Mixon, and this year it really does seem like they're gonna load up Moss and Brown and see what happens.
Yeah, we've got in the chat confirmed that the draft marathon is on Thursday.
I was pretty sure that's right.
In terms of other things you've got going on, I know it's really crazy busy season for you. Anything in particular that people should be checking out?
I will have my preseason week 2 recap out, like if you're watching this live in 15 minutes. If you're looking back at this, by the time you watch it, it's done. I tried to get it done before this and I couldn't get it done, but I'll have that out. I'm going to try and have something out about best ball stacks, probably to coincide with the draft marathon as well. Because we'll have a best ball draft on the draft marathon. It's one of the segments we've already filmed with Pete. So check out the draft marathon. I'll post all my stuff on Twitter so you can check it out there.
Hell yeah.
Tyler, what you got going on this week? I know you're busy man.
Probably joining Best Ball Guy on his channel with PPR Tyler to do a Thursday night stream, probably 8:15 Central, 6:30 Pacific, if I remember correctly. And then planning on doing another fun Best Ball brunch Sunday. Kyle, open invitation if you ever feel like drafting some teams on stream Sunday. Join us for Best Ball brunch anytime. But yeah, I think that's it for this week.
Cool. I have DraftKings $100 draft Wednesday night. We'll be jumping into that. see if we can get one of those full as that one starts to get a bit closer to filling. We've got JJ Zacharyson on Thursday talking about his 3 favorite picks in drafts right now. Andrew Erickson, Fantasy Pros as well. And next week, Pete Overzet. Next week, myself and Tyler will be drafting our last individuals best Ball Mania before we close out the season in a couple of weeks' time with a very fun end of term drafting party across all the different platforms with a load of different guests. Appreciate everyone in the chat. Like, it's getting towards business time. Kyle, really appreciate your time tonight, and good luck getting the rest of your column finished. We'll catch everyone very soon.